Hello, everyone. Come sit here once you're ready.
Oh,
Not yet. You're not going yet, but
okay. How long?
10 minutes, 15 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Rafa.
All right, you're live, Kevin.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Happy holidays. This is Kevin Eagleson. I'm the director of coaching here at Culver City Football Club. Thank you for joining us we called it a holiday Zoom, which I probably shouldn't have since you're on a YouTube channel. But I just want to thank you for taking time on your Sunday evening. I know some of you are traveling. We're also going to record this live so that we can show it to all of our members as it's an interesting time in regards to the holiday season. But we wanted to do something special. We wanted to do something different to kind of send everybody off onto this holiday season. So what I did is I wanted to pick a few really good friends of mine and bring them in to educate not only the parents but the players in regards to a few different things. We've got Blake George, who is a very good friend of mine, who is at LA Galaxy South Bay with me as one of the directors, and then he went to Steel, and then now he's works for the league, and he's the NPL commissioner and in charge of the NPL league, and we'll discuss the whole setup in regards to NPL and how it works. We've got Eddie Luron, who is with Global Soccer Development. Eddie's been working with players within our club in Europe for the last 2 years. I also did my European Pro license with the German Federation, and I'm currently scouting with him, and he'll have some information on the European trips. And we have a school in Germany, and we're setting one up in Spain right now for junior and senior high school boys. So he'll discuss some amazing opportunities in Europe. On the boys' side, we actually brought in Tim Ward, who Eddie and I met with this week in regards to actually putting together some trips to Europe. On the girls' side, Tim Ward is the head coach at Pepperdine University on the women's side, and I worked at Pepperdine with Tim for many, many years. He was my first mentor, and it was a wonderful experience. It was very difficult to leave the beautiful campus of Malibu. But we're going to start and kick it off here with Blake George, the MPL commissioner. So Blake, thank you very much. We appreciate you taking the time out of your day to spend some time with us and educate us on the National Premier League and the SoCal League. So thank you, Blake, for joining us. Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute, Blake.
Of course I am. Thanks, Kevin, for the introduction. Thanks for having me on. Really exciting thing that the club are doing to have some people within the industry, potentially outside of clubs in Southern California, to give a different insight about what things are happening within the youth leagues, the college leagues, and then obviously external recruiting as well. For those of you that may not have caught it at the start, my name is Blake George. I'm the scheduler and NPL commissioner for SoCal Soccer League. I schedule all of the fall league games, spring league games, and state cup games. State cup, which you should be getting by the end of this week. The NPL. So the NPL right now is the top level of competition of play within SoCal for U13 through U19. So that's all the 11B11 age groups, both boys and girls. That's the top level of play. Culver City had some teams within the NPL this season, and what they are basically doing is playing home and away within their specific geography to get themselves into the SoCal NPL playoffs, which takes place the second weekend of November. If you make the final of then the SoCal NPL playoffs, you get to go to the national finals to represent SoCal in Denver, Colorado in July of next summer. So this year we qualified 2 teams in each gender and age group. We're lucky to have 2 berths to the NPL finals because of the strength of the NPL division within Southern California. and those teams qualified and will obviously go represent. The one thing that's pretty unique about the NPL, it's obviously a national platform, similar to the other ones that you may or may not have heard about: MLS Next, ECNL, ECRL, EA, GA, DPL, Elite 64. The NPL is another one of these platforms, but it's slightly different. It is the only national platform league within Southern California that has promotion and relegation. It is truly and fully merit-based. At the start of every season, we set standards of competition and standards for promotion and relegation. So essentially, depending on the number of teams within your bracket, should you have two or three teams may get relegated from your division. The teams in Flight 1 in certain geographies are then competing to try to be promoted to the NPL the following year. No other league has that. They're all kind of club-based, and if you have your 6 boys teams or 6 girls teams, they compete. No matter how strong or weak you are, you always retain those places. So it puts a little onus onto the clubs, onto the teams, onto the coaches to earn that place within the NPL every single season. We tried to position the NPL a little bit differently by having a much lower cost per team entrance fee and much less travel than all of the other national platform leagues. We don't want parents to be starting off every season with maxed out credit cards from traveling all around the country. So we have optional showcases, which we offered the NorCal one this year. Next year, we'll be adding potentially one in Arizona and one here in Southern California to give teams an opportunity to travel to showcases, but not forced to travel with 13, 14-year-olds all around the country when they may not be aiming to play at those certain levels of play. The one thing about the NPL platform is we want to be realistic about the levels of play that they could potentially move on to play. The showcases that we are looking at, and the reason why we didn't mandate specific ones, was that we know that a lot of D1 schools are not really looking at the NPL level. Yes, people can have these goals to play D1 soccer, but ultimately it's all about finding the right fit for your son or daughter if they would like to go play college. A more realistic goal for an NPL player would be D2, D3, NAIA, junior college, and that's something we're particularly working on with around our showcasing options, because not only do we want to have optional showcases, we want to make them realistic and we want to make them worthwhile. So if you're going to attend a showcase that has 50 to 60 coaches, are they all realistic for your son and daughter's level of play? We kind of, at the end of each season, we speak to our clubs and listen to things that we survey all the directors. They send us feedback, and one of the big things last year was that they would like to see a club-based platform introduced alongside the current team-based platform within NPL. It's something that we're looking to introduce next year, along with an extended season. So not only would the NPL play in the fall, they'd play in the spring as well, with the U13s and U14s having obviously State Cup in the middle there. Our ultimate goal would be to be playing a full calendar from September through May. We obviously know they have the high school break for our high school age players, but we want a more realistic developmental timeline for these players to play on. And ultimately, like I mentioned before, what we want to do with the NPL is create a low-cost, very competitive environment for all of our clubs to be able to access within SoCal, and it not being political about getting in or can I not get in because my neighbor's in. Everybody gets in based on merit on how they performed the previous year. Kevin, that's it from me for now.
Got it. So a couple quick questions for me, and what we'll do is we have a chat. Raphael is going to come in at the end. If you have questions for Blake, or if you have questions for Eddie, Taj, or Tim, go ahead and put them in the chat, and then we'll choose some questions at the end. Blake, thank you for explaining it. I think, when do you foresee the big change in NPL in regards to the club to club? So if you're basically saying you're going to pick 30 to 40 top clubs in Southern California, and they're all going to play against each other. So it becomes a lot more organized and a bit of a different platform, correct?
Yeah, it would likely, I mean, we'll likely aim for between 12 to 18 boys and maybe 12 to 18 girls. 18 being the very max. Some of those clubs might be the same. Some clubs might have boys and girls. Some clubs might have boys only. Some clubs might have girls only. We'd look to launch that next fall, so fall 24.
Okay, awesome. And do you, obviously, at the last DOC meeting, there's obviously a lot of top level clubs that have top level ECNL teams and MLS Next teams. Do you think NPL, when we go to the club module, a lot of these clubs are going to be pulling and hopefully pulling their teams from the EA and from the different leagues so that they can stay loyal to what we're doing here, correct?
Yeah, a lot of clubs have expressed that the sheer expense of some of the outside leagues is becoming a lot at the kind of the second tier of the national leagues, and people have expressed a desire to potentially move their teams to the NPL instead. What we have to do is create a solid competitive environment that's going to be a lower cost for all, and make it attractive for both families and clubs to be a part of.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And like I said, we do have questions, but we're going to wait until the very end, until we're done. And we might come back to you, Blake, in regards to a few questions. But we appreciate you being here. And obviously, it's been really wonderful to have you. Not only you've answered questions for me in regards to referees, but State Cup questions in regards to the NPL and scheduled games. So having access to someone at the core of SoCal and the NPL has been really healthy. So I appreciate you, and I appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. I want to introduce Eddie Laurent. Eddie and I have known each other for 2 years now. I did my UEFA Pro license 2 summers ago in Germany. And Patrick Tenario and Tony, we all actually went through the FVB and the German Federation and received our professional B license. And so when I was there, he had a group of 17s and 19s in Duisburg that were Americans playing. And we analyzed these players and teams, and I was just blown away by the professionalism of how he handled not only the license course, but also these teams and watching them play against top Bundesliga teams. So the next summer, which was this summer, I brought Taj, my son, who joined the 19s with another Galaxy player. And I had the chance of coaching the 19s with the Schalke, one of the Schalke Academy coaches. And what a wonderful experience that was. So Eddie, thank you for joining us. And I know there's some GSD's been pretty informative in the last 2 years with some of our players. And we have a full-time player named Jacob that came from Culver City that's living in and playing in Schalke now. So he'll talk a little bit about global soccer development and the opportunities on the boys' side in Europe this coming summer. How are we doing, Eddie?
Doing great. Thank you for having me. Excuse my tired eyes, but they are looking like that because spent a lot of hours in the last couple of weeks on the field scouting. So Kevin and me actually were scouting in Phoenix like a week ago at the MLS Next showcase, and we had some engagements also with SoCal at the ID sessions, and now I've spent the weekend here in Las Vegas at the ECNL showcase, so to get also different perspective there. And so I think it's really important what Kevin said. It's like, you're a product of your environment, right? And the environment that he was able to experience and see and witness is what we try to do. We try to create a nurturing, loving, and compassionate environment. And how we do that is like by letting our values that are defined by discipline, respect, integrity, and service guide us in our conduct with, the players, but obviously with our staff, the coaches, and everybody around involved. So it's been a blessing. I really enjoyed the journey so far, and it's been great to have quite a few Culver City players on board in the last years. Just to name a few, obviously Kevin already mentioned Jacob Stauber, who also is in our residency program at Schalke. I'll speak more a bit about the residencies later on. But Dominic Mayer, Andrew Brown, Noah Jeddah, William Matlock, Cyrus Roberts, etc. So those players had the opportunity to experience our trips to Europe. Feel free to touch base with them if you have any further questions. They are very, very versed about the GSD program in Europe. And just on the background, how we select players is obviously I scout in person. Kevin also supports me this year on the scouting side, especially on the West Coast. But we also conduct ID sessions. So I'm in different parts of the country conducting ID sessions, so I can work with players directly and I can get to know them, even if it's like for 2 hours. It's very valuable. And then based on their performance, we can make the assessment what trip they can be invited to. So we're going to actually have an ID session at Culver City, January 20th and 21st. I will be back in California, so I look forward to hopefully meeting you all in person, January 20th and 22nd. January 20th and 21st. Kevin will also post these dates very soon. I think they're already on our website. They should be. And I look forward to being obviously in Culver City then. What we're scouting for next year, for 2024, is we're going to have a trip. Our summer starts in Portugal, June 7th through 17th. We're working there with the club Portimonense SC. It's a first division club in Portugal. So that's our first trip, June 7th through 17th. Then following right after that, we are going to Cadiz, Spain. Cadiz is in the southern west part of Spain. And that trip will be from June 21st through July 1st. And there we are working obviously with the La Liga club Cadiz and also with a club called Algeciras, which is a third division club in Spain. That's located about an hour away from Cadiz. And then I will be enjoying just a little bit of the Euros that will be taking place in Germany, from the middle of June to the middle of July. The European Championships will be in Germany, but my coaching license will take place starting in July. We're going to offer again coaching education for American coaches to get their license, the UEFA B license in Germany. Our flagship trips are obviously our Germany trips. They're always at the end of July. So our 19th and 17th going to be in Germany from July 19th through the 29th. And then our U12, U14s, and U16s will be in Germany from July 26th through August 5th. So there's going to be a lot of high-level teams that we're putting together in the next couple of months, and that's why I'm so busy. That's why I've been constantly on the road. I've actually been on the road since November 17th, traveling, scouting, doing site visits with our programs, and I'm looking forward to a very, very exciting 2024. Also, some interesting things I want to just point out. Tash, that's also on the call here, is one of our, I think GSD top prospects. I mean, Tash was on our U19s last summer that won the GSD Cup. They beat a Bundesliga team in the final in penalty kicks. But Tash is a player that went to Bruges and is very, I see a great future for him. And we're obviously trying to help him and support him on his journey to become a professional, have a long professional career. The same for Francis Castillo. Francis is a US American, but also has an El Salvadorian passport and a Nicaraguan passport. And Francis is going to be competing in the qualifiers for CONCACAF here at the end of January. He's been also on trials with several Bundesliga clubs like Werder Bremen, FC Köln, and we're very hopeful that we're going to sign a professional contract for Francis here in the next couple of months. Another one is Luca Adams, who's a goalkeeper, also from LA Galaxy that was with us on the trip last summer. And last but not least, Stefan Cerilla, amazing forward that was on our U17s last summer and is currently playing for Cincinnati FC and is doing a great job there. And I'm very hopeful that we're going to find him a great club to sign professionally with. So that's just a little bit on terms of the opportunities that can evolve out of our trips for players that are performing extremely well. But overall, our trips, they obviously provide these opportunities, but the most important thing is we want to impact them for their lives. We want to really leave an impact, inspire the players, and really through our nurturing environment, show them how important it is to build relationships, because that's really important to be successful in sports, but in general in life. That was pretty much residencies. I wanted to just touch base. Jacob Stauber, one of your Culver City players, that was also part of my U17s last summer.
Eddie, let me jump in. So Jacob Stauber was a player that came from the LA Breakers 2 years ago, and he left the Breakers to play with our 07s and 06s last season in the UPSL Spring League. So he was an 06 playing with our 07s and also trained with our top UPSL. So we put our 07s into an 06 bracket last spring, and Jacob joined us from the LA Breakers. He trained with the first UPSL Premier, and then that's where we scouted him to go to Germany in Duisburg 1, and he played with the 17s. And then at that point was educated in regards to the school in Schalke, and that's where he's at right now. So I just kind of wanted to give a little back history in regards to Jacob. So go ahead.
No, perfect. Yeah, and so, and when you guys run into Jacob, I don't know if Jacob's going to talk a little bit about it while he's on this call, but it's pretty much we have, we call it the integrated team because it's really integrated. I mean, most people ask me always, well, is this just an affiliation? Is this like, you're affiliated, you just wear the jersey and then you're kind of part of the club? No, it's like you're actually a team that's an additional team in the academy in Germany. So at Schalke 04, for example, they have the first team, the pro team that plays second Bundesliga, and they play in a stadium that's 65,000 that's sold out every home game. It's sold out. And then underneath that, you have the under-23s. They play in the 4th division in Germany. It's a very, very top professional league, very competitive. I would say the 4th division in Germany is compatible with the USL, lower level USL championship, or also USL 1. And then you have underneath the U19s, and then it's our team, the U18. So at Schalke, pretty much our U18 integrated team is forming the actual 18s at Schalke 04. And they're really part of the club. They're on the club's website. The players live on the premises. They train once to twice a day, play 1 to 2 games a week. They do online schooling. Obviously, they have to do online schooling because the training load that they have requires them to be able to do their schooling on their free time when they have the time, and that requires a lot of discipline for the players to get their stuff done. So Jacob is obviously a very, very disciplined guy, and he's having good grades, and he's also performing well on the field. And besides obviously training on the Schalke campus, being on the eye of all of the scouts, the technical staff constantly, we also take them outside of that environment. For example, we took them just recently to Spain, to Cadiz, where they spent about 10 days. In Spain, they played against the pro academy from Cadiz, and they also played against the academy team from Algeciras, played 2 friendly games, but also were able to experience the culture of Cadiz. We took them to Gibraltar. They spent a day in Gibraltar on the Rock of Gibraltar. It's a landmark. It's amazing. We also took them for a day to Africa. You can take the ferry from close to Cadiz for 1 hour when you're in Africa. So they have this amazing opportunity to experience culture on a completely different level and be immersed in this life in Europe. And it's an amazing opportunity. So if any of you guys want to learn more about it, please touch base with Jacob or reach out to me. We are having an academy at Schalke, which is this year for the 06s and 05s birth year. We have at Hertha Berlin an academy. It's for the 07s and 08s. At Bayern Munich, it's also the 07 and 08s. And in Cadiz, just starting this January, it's the birth year 2006 and 2007. So those are the residential programs that we have where the players are really immersed in a professional and integrated in a professional environment and do online schooling to develop their professional skills as a player.
Eddie, you're having a tryout with Culver City Football Club in January. You want to talk a little bit about when you're coming to us?
Yeah, I mentioned at the beginning, January 20th and 21st. You guys gonna...
What age groups? What age groups are you looking
from,
at?
Birth year 2013 through birth year 2006.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you, Eddie. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. And get some rest. I know you've been on the road quite a bit. And thank
Okay.
you. If there's any questions at the end, then we'll bring them up. But I appreciate it. I want to introduce my son Taj, Eagleston now. During this presentation, we're going to be showing a video of his highlight reel, which is interesting because Tim Ward will come on and talk about the scouting and recruiting process on the girls' side. But having a highlight reel is very important. So I want to introduce my son, who also spent this last summer in Germany prior to a trial in Bruges, which is in Belgium. We had to kind of disrupt the path in regards to how we did that because the Galaxy and the MLS Next wasn't too happy in regards to us taking that chance and giving him that experience. And so we did, and GSD was a big part of it in preparing him for this tryout. Taj is at a point where he's signed as a pro amateur with Orange County, which is a USL team in Irvine, which is a pretty amazing atmosphere. They get about 10,000 fans. He's hopefully going to make his debut this next January, February. He trained with the first team this last season and played the entire season with the reserves. Just got back from Florida, where he played in the final. But Taj is going to talk a little bit about sacrifice, a little bit about his daily routine, and how he got to this point in regards to his youth career. So all those players that are growing up right now, and in our club, he was at the exact same point where you're at. So, Taj, you want to go ahead and...
Yeah, hello all. I'm Taj, as you guys know. I'm 17 years old, and it's an honor to be here to talk to all you guys, because at one point I was in your guys' shoes, trying to go up the ranks, trying to figure out where was the best spot for me. And yeah, it all started in the Explorers program at Soccer City, as you guys know, is the LA Galaxy Soccer Center now. You know, just having a ball on my feet, playing futsal. Futsal was a big, big part of my development. And then from there, I joined my first club team, which is the Galaxy South Bay, which was ran by my dad and Blake George, who you see is in here. I was there for, I think, like 6 to 8 years. You know, it was really, really important for me. Yeah, so at the end of that, I actually was coached by Blake George. And we had a really good team. I think I was 11-12, and it was the State Cup final. And
Tier 1 team.
I missed a pen, and I was sad. But next thing you know, Jamie Harvey, a club from Galaxy Academy, comes to me, scouts me, and I joined the Galaxy Academy that next year when I was around 12 years old. And yeah, that was a big change, big step into the next path. It's the highest level in that age. The Galaxy Academy, also the LAFC Academy, you guys know, is the local teams here that are in the MLS Next.
Got some Culver City kids there.
Yeah, we now got some Culver City kids there from the clubs. And so, yeah, I played at the Galaxy Academy, traveled around the world, traveled to Florida, traveled to France, traveled to a lot of different places, Mexico, Costa Rica, and just played until, recently. I was there for 7-8 years. And I think the biggest thing there was sacrifice. Again, like my dad said, like sacrifice. When I got to a freshman year of high school, I decided whether to go to a regular high school, obviously with girls, with parties where my friends were, or go to the Galaxy Academy High School they had incorporated in the program. And I chose that path. I've been on that path. I'm now a senior. And, I think it was one of the best decisions I've ever made. It set me up for my next step in my career. I got a full ride to the University of San Diego. I'm verbally committed, and also gave me opportunities in Europe, so pro opportunities, and then I signed my first pro contract with Orange County, USL. I took that step. I left the Galaxy, which was another really hard decision I had to make. That would benefit me the most. Again, leaving all my friends, leaving all my teammates. But if I wanted to go pro, if I wanted to go to Europe and explore those options that, again, GSD helped me with, then I would have to take that step. So, this past 3-4 months I've been playing with Orange County. I got rostered with the first team one game, and it was just an amazing opportunity. And just 6,000 fans, Monterey Bay, small stadium. And it just showed me that I want to be a pro, that I want to do this next step. So, I've been twice to Belgium now, trying with Club Rouge. They're under 23s. It's a second division club in Belgium. And, so that's where I'm at now. And again, all these coaches here, I've Tim Ward, again, if I talk about Tim Ward, I've something called Malibu Soccer Academy that you probably talk about. I've been to that. I love those, World Cup days, Tim. And, Blake George coached me in the youth. And obviously my dad and Eddie Laurent have helped me a lot. Taking that next step and with my, every move. So, again, thanks for having me on here. I don't know if the highlight reel is done, but yeah.
Thank you, Taj. A couple quick questions for you. Obviously, he started out in a program just like we have called the Explorers. It's the same program as the Dreamers. He went in and played a lot of futsal during his career and he stepped into the academy. There's players that step into the academy from our club right now that have done well, and there's players that have stepped into the academy that have not done well. And one of the wonderful things about our staff is that we are here to develop, and if that means pushing kids into the academy, then that's what we'll do. But we also need to be careful which players are going and which players are not. Because it's a difficult and it's a big step. How many days a week are you training, Taj?
Yeah, so I train 5 days a week and 1 game on the weekend. It's a bit different from club because the club, sometimes you have 2-3 games a weekend with tournaments and stuff, but there's no more than 1 game a weekend. Some days, 3 times a week, we'll have double training. So it'll be a training in the morning, on the field, and then off the field, we'll have a gym session or a recovery session or, yoga or different stuff, cognitive session. And so I'd say about training is 10 times a week.
And obviously, as a young professional, what else, when it comes to your daily routine, do you think is important? Come to watch the game, futsal, sleeping, eating, that type of stuff for these young players.
I think the most important thing, for me, is how you prepare yourself for each training, for each game, which comes with sleep. Sleep is super important. Sleep is the biggest key to recovery. So every training, and injury prevention is so important. You see so many top players get injured, and they're in the best facilities, best recovery, because you never know what will come. But I think, a part of my daily routine is, again, sleep, eat the right foods, stretching, rolling out, making sure the body is ready for each training and each match. So you can perform at your best, and, you never know what will come with that. So, yeah.
Thank you, Taj. I think that's a super important point for our young players. Your whole day rotates around 3 different parts of your day, if you think about it, right? In the mornings, you're kind of preparing yourself for the day. You're nourishing yourself. You're getting your brain ready and your physical body ready for school. So school is when your cognitive brain is being pushed, right? You're online, you're in front of the computer, you're at school, and you're firing all of the cylinders in your head, right? Well, then all of a sudden you have to regroup for training in the evenings. So players need to think about how they're regrouping. Are they eating before training? Are they coming home and sleeping for a minute? Are you turning your brain off and relaxing, or are you on your phone? So doing homework before training might not be the best idea. You know, sometimes you need to relax. You need to bring down the brain so that it can re-spark and refire again. So I think that's a really important point. Sleep is super important. So when you're done training and you're eating dinner after training and you're doing your homework, turn off the TV, get off the phone, and then start to breathe and relax and stretch your body out, right? Really important. Taj is all about injury prevention, even late at night, right before he goes to bed. So he's a pretty dedicated player, which is I'm thankful for, because it even helps me at points. But if you guys have any questions for him, he's in a pretty amazing place right now in regards to where he is. I'm thankful that he's been offered a few different scholarships to a few different schools. Obviously, I work with Tim Ward at Pepperdine on the women's side for 5 years, and I worked with Eddie Soto and Patrick Tenario on the boys' side at Cal State Dominguez, and have been in the college world for over 10 or 12 years. So, as Tim will tell you, it's all who you know. And the college world and scouting and recruiting is about relationships. And obviously it was really easy for me and for Taj in regards to getting him looks, because he worked so hard and earned it, but it was also, it's about relationships. And we'll talk a little bit about that at the end, after Tim Ward talks a little bit about the recruiting and scouting process on the women's side. So Tim, thank you for being here. We appreciate it. Tim has a 2007 daughter that just committed to University of USC, which was interesting. She didn't commit to Pepperdine. Her and Taj grew up together at Malibu Soccer Academy. I did 15 years straight of Malibu Soccer Academy, which is Pepperdine camps. That tells you how important they were to me and how important Tim is to me. He was my first mentor, an amazing Christian man, and just really blessed to have you, Tim. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for, can you hear me all right, Kev? First of all, Taj, I'm really proud of you, man. It's so cool to hear you speak tonight, and your journey is actually really inspiring. I know my daughter's a year behind Taj, and they've been friends for a long time and follow each other on the social media platforms. But Taj is a heck of a player. But I know when he says sacrifice, I know all the things he sacrificed to be where he's at. And so I'm really proud of you, Taj. It's really cool to see your journey go in the direction it is. And, stay humble and stay hungry. That's what I say to Lynn Williams, who I've been blessed to coach. She's on the U.S. women's national team. And I would say, stay humble, stay hungry. You got this. In terms of, Kev wanted me to speak tonight in terms of scouting and what we look for. I'm not just a coach. I'm a dad. I've got 3 kids. My oldest is a musician. My son was a basketball player. He's a junior at Pepperdine. And my youngest, Charlotte, is a junior now. And the recruiting process, it's weird. I see it both now as a coach. I see it as a parent. I see the stresses that parents go through. And oftentimes, I want to start this talk with managing expectations. I think a lot of the times parents come into the soccer model in Southern California or across the country. It's a different model than in Europe. I mean, there's very much a pay to play kind of thing, at least in the ECNL world. I coach on the women's side. So in the ECNL world, there's a lot, it's a pay to play model, and most people are consumers and they feel like, all right, if I pay, I get something in return. And what I try to manage with parents is, look, what you're paying for, your dues are to put your son or daughter into an environment where they're going to get excellent coaching, but it does not guarantee scholarship. Or when I see the lists that the girls give to me, they put these lists of the top 25 schools in the country, and you're like, well, you can't all play there. So what I'll go through is very quickly, there's 3 parts, and that is, number 1, it's just so if I'm a parent or if I'm a player, I'm wondering, how do I get seen? How do I get recognized? You got to remember that coaches are always under the purview of the NCAA. So whether it's a Division I, Division II, Division III, NAI, junior college, everybody has different rules based on the division you're coaching at. Look, for me tonight, for instance, I'm not going to speak in terms of what we do at Pepperdine. I can't speak about Pepperdine recruiting, but I can speak in general terms about Division I recruiting rules. And I think hopefully some of this will help you. So number one, I think that players need to be really savvy pre-tournament or pre-opportunity for coaches to come and evaluate them. I think you need to be very savvy in the way you get a coach's attention. Kevin already mentioned it. The best way is to have someone on a coach or a connection on your behalf that can advocate on your son or daughter's behalf. It's that now there's a big asterisk next to that. That coach has to be willing to speak the truth about how good and both strengths and weaknesses of those players. If we get a coach that says, hey, I've got the best player ever, and then we show up and that player's not even close to the level, you can generally, we won't go back to that coach for another recommendation. So finding coaches and your network of coaches, for me, that I trust around the country. I've been at Pepperdine for 30 years. So there's men and women all around the globe that I trust. And I know they have to be able to understand the difference between good and great, because the margins, every one of you, I'm sure, could go to a field and pick out the best player on the field. I don't think that's actually that difficult, because those players stick out like a sore thumb. But what we're looking for is not just the best players, but the best fit for our programs. And so players can allow coaches to sort of be onto them in a couple different ways. Again, emails are good with highlight videos. Nowadays, there's highlight. These kids will make highlight videos. I would recommend those videos be really short. Less is more. And it needs to be the best clips. It's very, very, so many times I open a video and in the first 15 seconds, the player, I'm like, she can't play. And it's just because the choice of clip that the parent shows that they don't know, or the girl doesn't know, they don't understand the highest level of soccer that we're looking at. And so at my level, where we've been in and out of the top 25 for the last top 10 for the last 20 years. So we're looking at elite players, and it's important that when you send and put together your highlight clips, you put together your very, very best clips. If you're people always say, well, what if you're a defender and you don't have highlights? Well, for instance, defenders should show their ability to read a play, disrupt a play, win the ball, keep the ball, diffuse a dangerous attacker in a way that's skillful, not just robust, breaking someone's leg. I mean, some coaches might like that, but the modern game has just moved beyond that. And so if you're a goalie, the ability to play with your feet and just obviously manage the game, distribution, shot stopping. I mean, you can go through the list of positions. I'll let Kev do that later. But the highlight video needs to be short, sharp, sweet. You can contact coaches. The best way is to call them or text them, but sometimes coaches can't call you back depending on what year you are in school. We cannot call anybody back until June 15th prior to their junior year. So in Division I, that's Division I rules. We're not allowed to call that student athlete back until June 15th, basically at the end of their sophomore year before their junior year begins. Okay. And then once that happens, let's just imagine that you send the emails, you send a text, you've got a coaching staff's attention, and now we go to the field and we're about to watch you play. And I know this is random. I don't share this with a lot of people, but I actually have, I just had a talk with my staff about if I send one of my staff, like Max is my associate head coach, he's from England. So say I send Max to England and I send Amber to Phoenix, and then I end up going to South America, to Brazil, to watch some Brazilian girl, something like that. How do we know when we come back that we're speaking the same language, that Max says, I found a great striker, and Amber's like, I found a great striker, and I'm like, I found a great striker. So we have to have some unemotional categories, and these are some of them. I don't share this with a lot of people, but these are the things that we look for. It's pretty simple. You on this list, I have this column, and it has their number, has their position, has their body type. And body type's important. For instance, if you're looking for a center back, generally you want taller, stronger players, or players that are at least good in the air. So body type, speed is always a factor. And I always say there's three kinds of speed in soccer. There's physical speed, there's technical speed, and there's speed of reading the game. I think at the highest level, you have to have all three. At our level, we're trying, you got to have two of the three. Slow does not work. If you're slow, fine, but you better be the quickest on the ball, and your ability to see things before other people see them. Got to be quick that way. Work rate. This is a massive one. I think this is a really great I don't share this again with a lot of people, but work rate. So my example always is when we go to a field and you see a lot of good players, but the moment the ball is lost, if you see a striker, for instance, lose the ball, the prima donna doesn't track back. We don't recruit that kid. We don't recruit that kid. Then there's the kid that loses the ball and sort of, we call them the faker. They sort of look like they're defending, but they're really not. Then there's the kid that's the really hard worker, that they lose the ball and they go after it. And then the best kind is the kid that loses the ball, and we call them vicious worker, and they will get that ball back. They will chase you, your grandmother, do whatever to win the ball back. But what I love about that particular category is that for me, defending is a choice. And I think there's a lot, it's hard to get a window into the player's character. And when someone loses a ball, it shows you what's underneath the hood a little bit. And so that work rate, I think every boy, girl out there listening right now, you have that ability. The moment the ball is lost, you can show everybody what's under the hood by fighting to get it back. And I think the modern game requires that. In the past, you'd have forwards that could just hang out up front and wait for the moment. And maybe some, look, I'll just speak to the women's game. That just doesn't fly in the women's game. And especially in college soccer, when there's, 28 women on a squad and you're trying to keep a lot of superstars happy. College soccer is not necessarily like professional soccer, different substitution rules. So I call it soccer and hockey, more like line changes sometimes. So it's a little different, but that quality is huge. Okay, moving down the line, it's a body type, speed, work rate, technical ability on the ball. Obviously, you can see it. You can see if someone spent the time to master the ball or not. That's not your mom's or dad's responsibility. It's not your club coach's. It is yours. Every player, doesn't matter what genetics God has given you, you can be a master of the soccer ball if you spend enough time with that. Next one, IQ. I just think I love soccer players. I love people that feel the game, read the game, and have really intelligent decision making. So, you see a guy or a girl on the ball and you see their teammate make an overlapping run. And then you see the kid that holds the ball too long and doesn't reward the run or plays it too heavy of a pass or at the wrong time versus the other player that just feels the game. And I just think there's just something about IQ that jumps off the page to our staff. Moving down the line. And so IQ, decision making, and the ability to execute your decisions that you're seeing. Aerial ability. In the women's game, a few years ago, they had all the concussion studies. So we're finding a generation of young women that don't head the ball. Guys are hard-headed, so we always like to head the ball. But girls, on the other hand, not really loving heading the ball. So finding women that are really good in the air, it's a big deal for us. I talked about the defensive work rate. But, someone who's a really good tackler of the ball, that's physical without fouling. It's a rare quality. It's people that are really can get stuck in a clean way, in a non-threatening way, but just a really strong way. Some other intangibles that we look for, if long throw-ins, free kick specialist, someone who's a great talker, organizer, that's the voice of the field, that's a leader, that's a captain. Versatility, if you're able to play multiple positions. And I'm going to get to that in a second, because when we go to the field, you are looking for the best available player, right? So just a quick review, you have to contact, or your coaches have to contact. Somehow you've got to get a coach's attention through a highlight video, through an email, through a text, through a phone call, through whatever. And then the coach comes out to see you, and they're going to look at all these qualities and these attributes. And you're going to try, and then I'll just say this, it's sort of like the American Idol audition. You only get one chance to make a first impression, and you can't make excuses. And I tell players this all the time. You never know who's watching. You just never know who's watching. And so super important that, as Taj was saying, that every night about your preparation and your sleep and your diet, and you say, well, I just didn't have a good day. Well, you can't have a bad day. I would say you don't have to be perfect, but you just can't make mistakes. That's meant to be a joke. But anyways, to our players, you don't have to be perfect, but you have to be really good. And you can't show up and have an off day and then your dream school says, well, I'm not interested. And you say, no, you got to come back and watch me again. It doesn't work that way. We find that we can even see if someone's having a bad day, we can still tell if they have quality because of how they're reading the game, how they're attempting to play the game. Maybe sometimes they're trying a little combination, it doesn't come off, whatever. But you can tell if someone's got good feet, good vision, good IQ, good ideas, good speed, good technical. You can see if they're a player or not, even if they're not having their A game that day. And then, like Taj said, he missed a pen, and yet the scout, It's like, hey, I'm interested. And that's how it works. You just got to show up. And then once this is, and I'll sort of end it here. Once you've shown, and now all of a sudden, from our point of view, I think it's important for moms and dads to know. Now I go to a tournament like an ECNL event or a GA event or whatever event, Surf Cup, and I leave, there's thousands of kids on 25 fields or whatever it is. And then you leave with a list of players. And for some coaches, they go just looking for best available players. For some coaches like us, we're like, we need a goalie, or we need a center back, or we need a striker, or whatever. We need a 10 or an 8 or a 6. Oftentimes we're looking for great players that are versatile. We have a track record of converting. Our last 3 wide backs have all been drafted in the NWSL, but they all came in as strikers and we moved them to wide back positions. So we're just looking for good soccer players that can handle the ball. But now once you have your player pool, so in my case, now I come back from ECNL Tennessee. I just went in the early December. I went to Tennessee and I came back with about 20 names. Then you have to look at this, and this is where parents have to understand. Then you say, all right, these players, how do we rank them? Are they a cultural fit? Do they fit? Do they get great marks in terms of being a great teammate from their coaches? Academic is the first one. If I have 10, let's just say I'm looking for a center back right now, and I have 5 girls I'm looking at, and 3 of them are exceptional students, and 2 of them are not. The 2 are out. The 3 exceptional students, they stay on the board. And then from that, you're like, all right, culturally, I mean, are all of them good human beings? Check, they're all good human beings. Great. Are any of them versatile? Can any of them play wide back comfortably? Now, one of the girls cannot. She's only a center back, and the other 2 center backs can play wide. I'm like, probably checking off the 1, and I'm going to look at now the 2, unless the one that I checked off is just exceptional. And then finally, you're looking at financial flexibility. Then you have to say, all right, she has the grades, or he has the grades to get into the school. They fit the cultural profile. Positionally, they're good. They're soccer. They play all that stuff. And now we got to make it work. And moms and dads have to understand that you've got to make it work financially. And there's a lot of things to consider. Are they a big money player? Are they a partial scholarship player? Are they someone that's a recruited walk-on, which means they're not going to get any money, but you really do want them? And so now they have to go through the financial aid route, or maybe they're going to get an academic scholarship, which you can combine soccer money with. And maybe we have a girl right now whose dad is in the military. Maybe she qualifies for a yellow ribbon program or a CalVets program. And all those things are factors. And basically, I'll leave you with this, just from a Division I, this is the last thing I'll tell you. Division I women's soccer. Men, I think, have 9.9 scholarships. Women's, we have 14. So if you divide 14, it's a thought experiment for you parents out there. If you have 14 scholarships and you divide it by 4 classes, so do the math, for a freshman class, sophomore class, junior class, and senior class. If you divide your scholarships evenly, each year you're coming out with 3.5 scholarships to make a recruiting class with. For us, we generally put 3 into our freshman class, 3 in our sophomores, 4 in our juniors, 4 in our seniors, because generally we like to reward excellence, loyalty over time. Just like on the job, you get raises over time. We try to do the same thing at our school, and I know a lot of coaches do that. But let's just say you've got 3 to 4, let's say you got 4 scholarships. Well, most college programs have somewhere between 26 and 32 players on their squad. A lot of the big football schools carry 35. They have to. Federal, Title IX, federal law requires that you have your ratio of female athletes has to reflect the amount of students in a university. Right now, I don't know if y'all know, but more girls are going to college across the board to the tune of 60-40 nationwide. 60% of universities are inhabited by females, 40% of guys. I don't know if you know that. It's crazy. And so schools are, because guys can go to the military, guys can get into trades, plumbing, electrical, whatever. And more girls are going into higher education. It's crazy. And so what that means from a Title IX perspective is that 60% of all the athletic and scholarship opportunities have to fall to the women. That's why there's 14 scholarships on women's soccer and only 9.9 on men's in Division I. It's a federal law, and that's because of like football. Men's football has like 85 scholarships. So if you end up opting to go to a school with men's football, they have to balance the books on the women's side and give a lot of the resources. I know that's a lot, you guys, but I'm trying to do. I think parents don't understand that, we need 6 to 7 girls from planet Earth in each recruiting class, and we've got 3.5 scholarships. Say you give a full ride to a Lynn Williams. All right, now you've got 2.5 to get 5 more girls. So not every full rides are so very, very rare. So Taj, good job. I mean, if a school is actually offering you, any school, by the way, there's 1,700 women's collegiate programs, including D1, D2, D3, NAIA, and junior college. And there's 1,400 on the men's side. So there's like never been a better time to be a youth soccer player. There's more opportunities than ever before, but you have to be realistic about the math. And so I think parents need to go into this not with the idea that, oh, I'm going to get a scholarship for my son or daughter. If they just have an opportunity to play college soccer at the next level, that's a big deal. It's a really, really big deal. So I don't know. I'm just talking your ear off, but hopefully, Kev, I'm just throwing a lot of stuff out there for people. Hopefully they can chew on that.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Tim. I appreciate it. A couple quick questions for you. Recommendations. I think there's obviously our club is now in NPL. We're moving on into a higher level of NPL. If you have a girl that we recommend, would you go to an NPL tournament to watch a specific player that you feel could be conducive for Pepperdine?
Yeah, I mean, look, Lynn Williams and Brie Vasali were 2 All-Americans for us, and they came out of non-ECNL teams. So we go wherever there's quality, right? And that's where your friend network, your coaching, your trusted coaches network really comes into play. But it's important, you know, if those guys or girls know that you come out to watch those teams, you know, the team's got to show up because somebody's future might be depending on that. So, you know, yeah, but of course, yeah, wherever they're players, because look, some of these girls, I'll just use ECNL as an example. There's some amazing players that just geographically are in areas of the country that they just don't have an ECNL team or a GA team or an NPL. You know what I'm saying? So we go wherever we get. If we get a lead, we try to hunt it down, and that's what's so nice about YouTube and video, because you can see that stuff now.
Okay, great. Tell me about your high school Malibu Soccer Academy. Is that a great entrance way for these girls to get seen? What age can the girls actually join Malibu Soccer Academy? Obviously, it's more on the girls' side and a great opportunity to be seen by not only you, but the high school girls camp is ran by a bunch of different college coaches, correct?
Yeah. So for us, I mean, because we don't have a men's program at our school, so we just sort of have been focusing on the girls. So we do 2 junior elite camps for 9 to 13-year-old girls. Honestly, that's a brilliant way to, and it's like, it sells out every summer. You've worked those things, Kev. You know what I'm talking about. They're brilliant and they're super fun. Obviously, I happen to work on one of the most breathtaking campuses in the country. It's really phenomenal, but it is high level. And so say you have a kid from your club that you think is pretty good. Most of the kids that come to that 9 to 13-year-old camp, they're ballers. They're absolute ballers. And think about it. If you're a 12-year-old or 11-year-old and you want to spend 4 days of your summer at a camp, you generally have had to convince your mom and dad that you want to do that. And most of those kids are highly driven, highly talented. And for the high school camp, it's not just ours. Look, there are 2 kinds of camps. And this is for parents. I'm speaking as a parent. There's some that are just big money grabs. I got to be honest. You got to be very mindful of that. If you're going to go to a camp that has 500 kids, the likelihood that your daughter is going to be identified as the next superstar is very rare. But for us, for instance, we close our camp for the high school girls at like, I think it's 120 or 100. So it's pretty small. We'll have like 8 to 10 college coaches working that just to come out. This year, we're only doing it 2 days. The model's changed. Back in the day when all of us, I'm 52. So when I was younger, you go to camp for 5 days, 4 nights. And then it became 4 days and 3 nights. And now our kids' lives are so overprogrammed, I think, that we do 2 days. We actually have them stay the night because we want them to be away from mom and dad. And we have a lot of kids that will fly in from around the globe, actually, because it's the only time they can showcase their ability in front of our staff and the staffs of others. So, because again, we cannot hit every tournament to be there. So if our school or any school is on like your dream, if you have a top 3 or 5 school and you actually have the financial flexibility to go to those camps, those are great ways. But I would highly recommend going, go with like proper expectations, go to learn, go to have fun. But yeah, it's a great chance to make an impression. I think of our current squad of 26 girls, I want to say 12 of them have come through our Malibu Soccer Academy where they were identified. And then it reconfirmed their commitment to come to our camp. Basically told us of the pool of players that we were looking at, the fact that they took their time and resources to come to our camp, and we got to know them a little bit deeper, like better, just their personalities. It was brilliant. So yeah, that's why it's not just our camp, it's any camp. But I think you got to do some digging. You don't want to just throw your money out the window. I think you got to really know what you're signing up for.
Awesome. Thank you. And then the exciting part is Eddie with GSD and Tim and I all met in regards to the girls' pathway to Europe also. So we are putting our heads together, and Tim is looking at taking a group of 07 girls to Europe this summer, which will be the big first step to the pathway in regards to what we're doing with GSD and starting the girls' side. And Eddie, maybe this is a question for you. One of the parents are asking, are you interested in the girls' side and also doing what you're doing on the girls' side in the future?
Of course, yeah. I mean, we are super interested in providing this on the girl side, obviously on the trips perspective. That's why we met also with Tim. And we've been trying to do this for a long time. It's just sometimes a matter of who you're connecting with. And I hope that, that this is going to be very fruitful, and I look forward to it. So the idea is to absolutely establish that for the trip perspective on the girls, but also on the residential side. We're going to be close to announcing here also a residential program for the girls in Europe.
Oh, great. And one question was, what age does the program start? So Eddie, for you, it's 2013 boys, correct?
Correct, yeah. This year's 2013, the youngest, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's see. Another question would be, this one would probably be for me. If the pathway for boys is pushing to MLS academies, what is the pathway for girls? Okay. The pathway for us in regards to our club right now is obviously working with SoCal and creating the NPL, the club to club model, and really starting to recreate what's happening in SoCal, right? So we don't have to push players to the Galaxy. We don't have to push players outside of our club, right? On the girls' side, if in the next few years there's a higher level of opportunity and we're not providing that opportunity in the next 2 to 3 years, we will help you develop and help you go on to that type of atmosphere. So whether it's Celestine, whether it's AJ, whether it's Kevin, okay, our higher level coaches will work with me, will work with Tony, and try and help in any way. If there's a girl that needs to move on, then that parent should come to us and discuss the other options, because as Tim said, this is all about relationships. And relationships are really important when you're trying to push these players. It's really not about the league. It's about the environment that you're in. It's about the exposure, and it becomes kind of who you know. And there's a lot on the boys' side in the last 2 years, players that have come back their junior and senior year from the MLS Next, not only because of the finances, but because of the relationship that we have in the UPSL programs we've created. And so we signed, I think we signed 7 D1 scholarships in the last 2 years. We've signed 6 D2 scholarships and 2 professional contracts. And the reason we did that is because of our top UPSL men's team. So in the future, in the next in the next year, we're looking at creating a top UPSL women's program. So Tony and I, AJ, are putting our heads together in regards to how we can now start that on the girls' side, so that our top 10s can play like our top 07s are playing up right now. So our boys team played in Surf Cup. I think AJ's team played in Surf Cup too. But those types of players will get a chance to now play up in the top UPSL. So we're trying to disrupt, because if you think about ECNL and you think about MLS Next, the crazy thing is Eddie and I were having a conversation with a parent in Arizona. He has one player that plays in the MLS Next with a pro academy that's paid, like Taj. There's no way that I could assign Taj to TFA or LAFA, because those parents have to pay for every single trip. But he signed with the Galaxy or LAFC, they pay for it. So this parent was telling me that he's halfway through the season, and every time he goes away, he has to spend $800 to $1,000 every weekend. So he was up to $9,000 or $10,000 in the MLS Next or ECNL, and he's halfway through the season. So for us to disrupt and try to create this platform, which, to be honest with you, in the next few years, we would really like to have a top UPSL girls program. We'd like to have a top UPSL boys program, and then also try to disrupt and see what we can do to push the limits where and how we can take this small community club to the next level. Is that obviously opening up the facility? Is that to take away the pay to play model in the next 3 years? Is that to go in? We have the opportunity to go ECNL or MLS Next. We are being very strategic about when and how we're going to do it. Okay, so what we want to do is get everyone to that next level, but we also got to be very concerned in regards to the fiscal.
Yeah, you just muted yourself.
Yeah, Kevin, we can't hear you.
Oh, there we go. Sorry. Let's wrap this up. I do have, let's see if I have any more questions. Thank you guys, and thank everybody for joining us. We appreciate your time and effort. Thank you, Blake. Thank you, Edwin and Tim and Taj. I want to wish everyone a happy holiday. There's a couple quick things I want to go over for the club. We have our holiday camps coming up, December 20th through the 22nd, which is this week, Wednesday through Friday. Week 2 is December 26th through the 29th. Week 3 would be January 2nd through the 5th. We also have tryouts coming in January. Beginning February 12th. February 12th will be the first day of tryouts for the 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, and 2014. So those are beginning Monday, February 12th. April 23rd will be the beginning of our tryouts for the 2006, 2007, 2008, and 2009 teams. Those will begin April 23rd. So, guys, I just want to thank everyone for being here. I want everyone to have a wonderful, happy holiday season. There's some exciting stuff going with Culver City in the next year or two with the facility. We have top college coaches coaching in our program, and we're growing the women's side, and it's becoming an amazing community-based club. So thank everyone for your loyal support. Have a wonderful holiday season, and thank you to everybody that joined us tonight. Thank you, everybody.
Christmas.
Thank you.
Bye.